Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video, and today we are going to review The Walking Dead Season 11 Episode 9, and wow, this episode, those early reviews were not lying. So today I kind of want to break down this review into two parts. So I want to go through all the things that are kind of good about this episode, then all the things that are bad about the episode, then we get my one-word sentence, just one-word overview afterwards. But before we get into this, let's talk about the episode in general first. So what is the episode about? So, the episode has two plots. There's a plot A, which is with the Reapers, Maggie and all them lot, and the plot B, which is at Alexandria, and kind of deals with mostly Aaron. And this is probably the first episode this season that I feel like I cared about each plot equally, and both plots were important to the story. It wasn't like some episodes, like I think episode 3 had a great plot A, and his plot B was a bit weak, or episode 6 had a weak plot like C and stuff like that. No, all plots were very good. Like, we kind of did. I was expecting a lot more of plot B with how episode 8 set it up. I thought we'd get more of Carol, but no, it's just solely focused around Aaron basically trying to save Gracie and then get out of the basement. I thought that was great. Really cool. Plot B is quite a bit shorter. It's a very small plot B. I see about halfway mark it stops and then it focuses all on plot A, which is really good. Okay, like they obviously knew they couldn't stretch it out. It was just a right length for a plot B. Plot A is just kind of all about just finishing off the Reaper arc, and it is about everyone just kind of killing off the final Reapers and then them just kind of getting back with the food. There is some sort of little issues with this, and that is, I feel like it was slightly rushed because it kind of ends quite a lot earlier on, and they do a lot of like kind of sweeping up all the dangly bits they have left going on through the Reaper arc. It is still a very fun episode though. The story is still really good. It's just very moving fast. And they kind of try and condense a lot into this episode. It does make it feel slightly bloated because the Reaper arc does kind of end there. And then the episode carries on. You have this really long ending. That's kind of one downside. Just, you have this very fast thing. But it's very enjoyable. And I will talk more about the ending in my kind of negative points later on. Now, as we've just talked about the kind of plot A and plot B and what I liked about them, let's just do kind of an overall what is good about this episode and what is bad. And the first thing I really like about this episode is Gabriel. I think he had a really good thing in this episode with... He had a good story, but the best part about the story is the kind of scene he had with the priest. I thought that was hands down one of the best parts of this episode. However, I think it would have been better and it would have been more impactful if he did it with Pope, and Pope didn't die in episode 8 and he was still around and we had the episode here. I just feel like maybe it would have been so much better with Pope, but it was really good with the other priest, just been better with Pope. Another thing that was just amazing in this episode is Maggie. Like, I've always hated Maggie since she came back in season 10. See, like, I thought she just came back all moody and like, I'm the leader now, a bit bossy, but no, Maggie this episode, hands down, best thing of the entire episode. Reason why? There's a lot of things that happen in this episode, and Maggie is just smart. You would expect, as you saw in the trailer, like there's a big standoff happening, and Daryl's like, we can let him go, we can do all this, we're not going to fight for reasons to fight and stuff like that, we're going to let him live. Leah can protect her family, I can protect mine. And Daryl's kind of getting his way. Daryl's kind of being the generic good guy, which is kind of being stupid, because you know these are the type of people that will come back and kill you if you let him go. And Maggie, at that point, just kind of realises, yeah, if we let him go, they're going to come back and kill us again. And I really like Maggie's reasons. Like, we all thought the reason why we see Maggie in the trailer just kind of shooting everyone, and we're like, oh, Maggie's going to kill off all the Reapers, is because we see Old and Dead. No, she's just staring at Elijah laying on the floor being a pleb. She's like, yeah, you're right. If we let him go, they're going to kill them. And she kind of even looks at Negan at a point and means like, yeah, we kind of got to kill them all to survive. And Maggie just goes mad, just goes and just kills them all. And I'm like, yes, thank you, somebody who has common sense. You can't let a bad guy go because they'll come back and kill you at some point. Or they'll seek revenge at some point. So I really like what Maggie did just to kind of wipe him out. That was just, hands down, smartest decision ever made in the back half of seasons of The Walking Dead. Like, we had some really good smart decisions in the early seasons of The Walking Dead, but I think from season 7 onwards, no one's been intelligent. And it's just hands down the best part, just Maggie being smart. I also love the Maggie-Negan dynamic in this episode. We get some really good dynamic. And there's just a moment where Maggie turns to Negan for consolidation on her opinion and asks for advice. I thought that was just amazing character development between these two characters, just kind of accepting each other. They don't like each other, but they accept each other as very useful assets, and they can help each other. Like, Maggie's just not looking at Negan going, I need to find a way to kill you. She looks at Negan and be like, okay, how can you help me? What do you think? I just really liked they finally grew as characters and got past Glenn's death. I really liked that, and I thought it was just really good character development. And I really like to see more Maggie and Negan moving forwards now that they're able to look at each other and ask for help. However, the writers are being really good this episode, and they are like, okay, we do want them to forgive each other, but we don't want to be that sudden. First 8 episodes, they forgive each other. And I really like how they're going, okay, Maggie does see that he's good now, and that he's useful, but however, Maggie still can't forgive him properly. And I really like how even Negan notices this, and Negan's like, okay, she is trying to, but she would still kill me if she had a chance. And if this was Negan's last episode, it would be perfect, because this episode kind of ends with Negan being like, Maggie, I know that you would kill me the first chance you get. Like, you don't want to do it, but I know you'll break your promise at some point. And Negan's like, I'm just going to leave. And this would be Negan's perfect ending if they were like, hey, let's do Negan gets exiled like he does in the comics. And Negan just walks out and Maggie's like, okay, bye. I would have really liked that. We know he comes back. We know that he's going to be back in the season. But if they just left Negan here, it would have been a perfect ending for Negan in my opinion. The music is also hands down amazing. It's been really good in season 11 just because I really like the Reapers theme song and it really adds tension to the Reapers. Like, I don't like the Reapers as a whole, but when that music is playing, when the Reapers are doing something bad or in a fight, I just feel like it's great. It adds tension, makes them feel dangerous, it makes them feel like this kind of jungle. I get Predator vibes off them. And I really like it. It's just really good, very fun. The fight scenes in this episode are great. It's a very big episode. A lot happens. I really like the fights. There is a big Carver fight. And I like how, even though it's 3-on-1, Carver's still able to beat people up because they're meant to be that military training. It's just really good. The Reapers that are actually named aren't just kind of pushovers and wet wipes, because there's a Reaper early on in this episode that just kind of gets pushed over by Maggie and gets blown up. However, it's just great when you have the name Reapers just be badasses. It's just really good to have the villains actually feel like they're a threat. They actually feel like a threat this episode, which makes them so much more fun and very engaging. I like some of the ending. I feel like the ending does go on a bit long, but I feel like I like some of the ending when they come back and you get the Daryl and Connie reunion. That is just perfect. It's really good. I liked that. I just forgot that Daryl can do sign language. He learned it for it. I just think that's absolutely amazing he did that. It's just super cute. It's just nice. And we got kind of a Daryl and Carol reunion. I just thought the endings, parts of it were really good. But the best part about this episode is definitely Maggie, Negan, and the fighting. There's a lot of stuff going on in this episode. It's just very fun to watch. Now let's talk about the negatives of this episode. And there's not very many, but the biggest negative is that Daryl is just kind of a side piece. He's been a kind of a side piece this entire season so far. He's meant to be the main character of the show, and he doesn't really do much this episode other than kind of do a stupid decision like, hey Leah, I'll let you go of the Reapers. You're totally not going to come and fight us back, because you know the Reapers would do that. And I'm really happy that Maggie's like, nah Daryl, you're being stupid, I'm just going to kill them all. But other than kind of Daryl doing that, Daryl's just kind of useless this episode. I really didn't like Daryl this episode. Another thing I didn't like about this episode is there's a big death this episode, and it's just very predictable how it happened. It was just very like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. It was very obvious. I just didn't like how obvious it is. It was sad, and it was like, oh no, but I was like, yeah, I could see that coming. It was obvious. Like, they didn't do it with shock value. I really liked how they didn't do it with shock value, but they just made it too obvious. I just didn't like the death. It was kind of good because it made the Reaper arc worthwhile. It made the Reaper arc actually have a full impact on the community. Like, they had a lasting impact, but I just didn't like the execution too much. It was too obvious, and I was like, well, you've done so much better deaths, and this one was kind of down here. I was expecting it to be a bit better, but it was kind of bland, to be honest. Now let's get to my biggest issue with this episode, and it's the ending. I just didn't like the ending because they wanted to put the Commonwealth in at the end to be kind of this, oh no, the Commonwealth are here. It just ruined it for me because it kind of diminished the end of the Reaper arc, because it was like, oh, they're not important enough to have their own ending. I feel like the end of this episode should have been them getting back and being all happy, but then they're like, the next biggest threat. Imagine when the Savior arc was over, first thing you see, as soon as Rick takes out Negan, the Whisperers appear up. That would just kind of ruin the Saviour ending. And I feel like bringing the Commonwealth in this early, just be like, bam. They're not, if they came in earlier and saved them from the Reapers, I would have been fine with that. But no, they're just tacked on to the end. It feels like this is tacked on to the end to diminish the Reaper arc. And because you tap on the Commonwealth at the end, guess what? Now you have to kind of rush through the Reaper arc so you can have enough time for the Commonwealth at the end. And I didn't like it because he added the Commonwealth at the end. They had to add the pacing up. It was still a good episode, but the pacing had to be sped up so they could add the Commonwealth at the end. And we didn't even get a full kind of introduction to the Commonwealth. We see them at the end. Lance walks in and he's like, oh, we have two like options you could do. Bam, 6 month time jump. And you're like, okay. Now we get this kind of shock ending with Maggie back at the hilltop and Daryl kind of being mad at Maggie, like Maggie's looking down at Commonwealth soldiers. Maggie's done something, and Daryl walks out, takes off his helmet, and he looks up like, kind of, we have to do this. That's a cool shock ending, but I feel like that should have not been there. It just, I also didn't like how Daryl's Commonwealth suit just kind of looked bad. Like, you had all the other Commonwealth soldiers looking nice, and Daryl was missing parts of his armour. I just didn't like it. I don't know why. Small critique, didn't like it, but I just didn't like the ending because we didn't get Pamela. Okay, we were kind of expecting. I feel like this ending could have been added to the start of episode 10. I feel like we're going to get a lot more in episode 10 of Pamela talking to them and everyone kind of reacting, making their choices. We're not going to jump forward. So we had this 6 month time jump for the next episode to take place before that 6 months because we see them reacting to being at the Commonwealth. So what's the point of having that 6 month time jump? Just to be like, oh yeah, later in the season we have that. It was just kind of a preview to the like a big chunk later in the season. So I just didn't like that unnecessary time jump. I didn't like the tacked on ending with the Commonwealth. It should have been earlier in episode 10, not this episode. Now let's move on to my one sentence, that's one word overall review. And even though I didn't like the end of this episode, I didn't like some things in this episode, I didn't like how Daryl didn't stand out his own show, this is still a great episode. It is fantastic. I loved the Maggie thing. Like, Maggie was actually my favourite character for once. I liked Negan. I know it's not his ending, but it would have been a perfect ending. The plot B made sense. I really found it enjoyable. It was a very good looking episode. The music was great. It's a great episode. And it was a really good end to a not so good arc. But what is your opinion on this episode? Please tell me down below. Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? Did you think it was a good end of an arc? Please tell me. And feel free to subscribe for more reviews, theories, discussions, anything like that. If you want more Walking Dead content, look on the screen. I recommend you do it. You'll find some guys you like. And this is it for me today. So goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you at a later date.